based out of passing over business development past 16 years, and I have spent over the last 15 years in the U.S. Hispanic market. Entonces hablo bastante español, entonces no we're putting, they're both part of the, Brian Fisher is the president of IH. Brian and I met many, many moons ago when we both had a little bit more hair in the sunny beaches of San Diego while we were attending UC San Diego. And Brian, by trade, is a lawyer, but he's certainly evolved and grown into a lot more than that. He's an innately, deeply curious person, a strategic thinker, and he has a lot of those visionary type of moments. He's also the most patient person I've ever met in my life. He has been pivotal in building the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Sacramento for many years. And he's also been involved in a number of different industries, including jewelry, food, retail, and real estate, among others. Brian, I'm so glad that you could be here with us.
Thank you very much, Sergio.
Of course, of course. As we get to know you, we get to know IHH and all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about how Imagine Human Health came to be in March of 2020?
Well, as you described, like many companies, we were born out of the pandemic. However, we were surrounding a table, gathered around the table, well, a little bit before the pandemic actually started, exploring health. So it was very, very organic when the emergency hit, for us to move forward government out of that vision. We understood that critical moment really was much broader than supply and demand of what was necessary in the emergency, but could actually impact the next decade of human health. And so we designed the company around that ideal, that we could really envision a better way of working together and working with human beings' health.
And if you could distill Imagine Human Health's core mission, core values, how would you describe them?
Well, we're a highly collaborative organization. We're spread across the country from Miami to California, and throughout the middle, we have a network that we've generated around the world. We have a very international focus. Again, we named ourselves Imagine Human Health, not a specific geographical area, because we're concerned with all people. So it is a people-centric vision.
The kind of flexibility, the kind of creativity that you've seen flourish during this time?
Well, out of any crisis derives opportunity. And, again, at the beginning of this, at the outset, you could see the demand spiking for PPE very, at that very moment, as a group, as a team, we gathered around and asked ourselves, what would these items, how would they evolve? How would this space? And we also understood that, and more collaborative than we'd seen in quite ways, that they, where we could actually a partner in slates over the next decade, or maybe the next 2 decades. The fact that the circumstances have, lasted for nearly 2 years. Historically, there are very few moments where you see idea of flexibility from Miami to California and throughout the middle. We have a network that we've generated around the world. We have a very, very international focus. Again, we named ourselves Imagine Human Health, not a specific geographical area, because we're concerned with all people. So it is a people-centric vision. It's really bringing an esteemed group of colleagues together to constantly or consistently brainstorm, where is the world going, what are the needs, how can we drive manufacturing more efficiently, how can we deliver health outcomes that are more responsive, especially, if we look at these past 2 years, it's not just COVID-19 that's affecting us, but we can see simultaneously that climate change is upon us.
Yes, yes. And certainly, Brian, the last 18 months has brought us collectively and individually massive disruption. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of innovation, the kind of flexibility, the kind of creativity that you've seen flourish during this time?
Well, out of any crisis derives opportunity. And, again, at the beginning of this, at the outset, you could see the demand spiking for PPE, very traditional items, masks, gloves. However, at that very moment, as a group, as a team, we gathered around and asked ourselves, what would these items, how would they evolve? How would this space look 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And we also understood that the government climate was changing, that not only was government open and more collaborative than we'd seen in quite some time, entertaining different voices, bringing them to the tables that they, where you could actually have impact, but also that it could be a partner in really seeing how public health translates over the next decade, or maybe the next 2 decades. This is really a stark moment for all of us, and the fact that the circumstances have, lasted for nearly 2 years now puts us in a very, very particular point historically. There are very few moments where you see the world come together like this, and you raise the idea of flexibility. The example that I would give you is that I've started many companies. I've been part of many teams in various industries, from co-working, online directories. Been in, spent my time in both business development and community development. I have, I think 25 years ago, when I was first in my first internet startup with John Liu, another partner in Imagine Human Health, and I was engaging with you at the beginning of your marketing career, or at least the earlier days of your international space. We imagined that the internet would deliver virtual work, but it wasn't something that was deliverable. And I think that because of COVID and the acceleration of technology across the last 10 years, we're actually experiencing a maturity or a maturation of that idea. So it is now very real. So this is the first company that we have created where no one sat down at a table from day one until now, really. Most of the players in our company, they might have known each other across time, or they might know one partner or another experientially, but the company as a whole was founded virtually, has worked virtually, and worked seamlessly across the space. And that is a profound articulation of this moment. And it's very, it actually illustrates a lot of pride, because this team continues to surprise us and surprise itself. It works so fluidly and very, very flexibly. And just the way that people interact with people, support each other, regardless of time zones, technology, glitches. It's very fluid and quite remarkable, and fine minds. And that includes our partners like Newt and Richard, and people around the world that have become partners on the supply or manufacturing end, brainstorming with us new technology, trying to imagine how to bring new technologies to market.
Absolutely, and certainly virtual is the reality, is the new norm now. But I think that we can all agree that components of it, aspect of it, are going to continue for the foreseeable future. So it's great that that's been able to be put together. I wanted to shift gears a little bit, Brian. I wanted to shift gears a little bit. I know and I understand that you have a unique angle and take on the food industry and grocery. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know you've been involved with vegan pizzerias, with cheese, and a whole bunch of other things. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, if you could see my stomach, you would know that truly I am a foodie. I've eaten my way throughout this world, although, there's a lot for each of us to contemplate as climate impacts our diet. You're correct. Over the past 25 years, when I started the online directory for the region of Sacramento, it was really the most significant and earliest model. I was engaging across we went from a dearth of opportunities or options at the beginning of a lot of ventures, and be a bird on the shoulder and provide a support system, not just the front end of marketing, but the back end of business management and development, provide a lot of insights. And I gained a lot of mentors. That, of course, brought me to the table with new grocery stores that were emerging, different models that were perhaps early in their path. And I've now seen an enumeration of them in our market alone. And I've traveled to many other markets regionally across California and nationally, just to see how they translate in these different markets. You can see how they're using technology, but that culture of the store still matters, right? In fact, it's quite meaningful to the bottom line. You either have relationship with that client or you don't. And it's interesting to see how that translates even in a high-tech moment as we live in today. You're also correct that I've run restaurants, and developed products that can be sold to other restaurants and through grocery chains, and primarily focused on the vegan market, which we are also, you might remember that 25 years ago or 30 years ago when we were in college, my first business was actually a vegan vegetarian cafe. So my curiosity has never left. And there's so much more to achieve in these spaces.
Excellent, excellent. And obviously, since we've been talking so much about food, we got to know, what's your go-to snack, at least the go-to snack these days?
Right now, it's really a plate of hummus and some jicama sticks.
Okay, excellent. Making houses out of jicama using the hummus as a little cement-like. Okay, interesting. Sounds good. Sounds good. Bon appetit. Buen provecho. Buen provecho.
Gracias.
Before we talk to Newt for a second, just a little background on me. My connection to the grocery stores starts very similar to Brian's. I've been a foodie for as long as I can remember. The good thing is that I have a very, very fast metabolism, and that has allowed me to become kind of like the Hoover of wherever we go. And I have a very voracious appetite. Thank goodness some people even think that I have a hollow leg. Before my days at Imagine Human Health, through my marketing and business development career, about 4 years ago, I got involved with a manufacturing startup out in Northern California, one that was doing all sorts of things with this thing called moringa. I didn't know what moringa was, but it certainly sounded Spanish enough. And once I started learning much more about the plant-based protein and all the great benefits that it had, the company had a really big problem in that they were doing well in Florida, but they didn't understand why. So I was their man on the ground and was able to really hone in and help them optimize their operations and their understanding of why things were doing so well. Became very adamant and involved with their U.S. Hispanic market outreach and strategy, with their field marketing, started training a number of their different brand ambassadors across the country. And so as part of that, I spent a lot of time doing store checks. So whether it was Whole Foods, the CVS, Walmart, lots and lots of different independent stores that they were a part of. It was always a great opportunity to see and interact with the buyers, with the people at the stores, really taking care of the product and educating them on what they could do with it for the clients when we weren't there to talk about it. So they gave me the nickname, if you will, Moringa Man 305, since I live in Miami. So to these days, when I still go visit the stores, sometimes they say, "Hey, there goes the Moringa Man." So that's my connection. We're going to shift gears a little bit right now and talk a little bit about another member of the IHH family and a very strategic partner, Newt Chiem, with Trade Sorcery, who happens to live in Sacramento. Well, Newt, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Buenas tardes, señor.
Excellent, excellent. Muy bien, muy bien. Así me gusta. Now, tell us a little bit about how you and Brian met, what the connection was.
Well, first of all, my company here is Trade Sorcery, and we have been helping the community find PPE products, as well as servicing the community with products for grocery stores, and also helping out regional transit, the local bus and light rail system here in Sacramento. I've been helping out the community for over a year now since the pandemic started. And with that, I got introduced to Brian here. And I think we came together because we just had the big heart to try to help people. We collaborate on several projects already, trying to help out find masks, PPEs, gloves. And now we are expanding internationally, and we're helping countries try to find vaccines, et cetera. So really, it stems from just wanting to help the community, wanting to help the world, and create a more positive impact.
And Newt, you have a solid and profound background in manufacturing, trade, and logistics. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that and that how it came together under the Trade Sorcery banner?
Wonderful. Yeah. Very early on, I was already in manufacturing. We manufactured to a start. Later on, I went into education and I started recruiting international students for Sac State and UC Davis. With that, when the pandemic hit, all my connections started asking me how they could help. So from that point on, I created Trade Sorcery so that we could open up channels. At that time, international shipping was very difficult, from the cost of shipping containers to even the availability. With my connections, I've been able to open up trade routes. I've been able to land containers here in U.S. ports. And when the ships are even here, if they are stuck at port, I'm able to land and drop my containers down within a few days. All of this is because I have connections abroad, with really high profile clients of mine, a national group, to try to just help ease this pandemic. And to tell you the truth, I think the only way that we're going to get through this is if we work together.
And Newt, it certainly sounds through all of the lecture.
They are directly the manufacturers. They are directly the shippers, and then on top of that, they are directly the receiving agents on this side, secure the entire supply chain.
And I know that many of us come across lots of different companies like yours. Everybody says they're the best. Obviously, they're confident and they're trying to get the sale. What makes Trade Sorcery different or unique? What's your secret sauce?
The secret sauce is really just people and connections. We have close connections worldwide. And so when you're talking about shipping products, let's say from Asia, do you need a container? I have a family that ships hundreds of thousands of containers so that we can get containers whenever we need. Do you need ships to be able to get over here within 45 to 60 days? Because I've heard that there's ships right now that have taken 4 months being stuck at port. That's never going to happen with us. We'll have ships coming through here, from Asia all the way to the US, no problem. And then once you're here, once our ships are here, we actually have people at the ports that will help facilitate and bring the ships in and unload them in a very timely manner.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yep. And it's all about relationships.
Something very needed at all times, but especially during the times that we're living through. Now, Newt, tell me more about your connection to grocery stores and how that has evolved over the last 2 years or so.
Well, I started out by just knocking on doors, asking who needs help. And next thing I know, I walked into a nice sized grocery store called Rayleigh's, 127 stores. Since the pandemic hit, I've managed to secure masks for them, poly gloves, nitrile gloves, disinfectant wipes, disinfectants, anything that you might need in order to keep a business going, to make sure that their clients are safe and that they, that they have everything that they need in order to operate.
Excellent. And Newt, obviously, we got to know what's your go-to snack these days?
I'm an international man, so I love all types of flan. So from Spanish flan to Asian flan to American flan. I even make my own flan too. So one of my favorites is banana flan. So I actually make that by myself.
Interesting. I did not know that we had American flan, and it sounds like you would be a flan consigliere or a flan sommelier. So always good to have one of those in the family.
He's truly fantastic.
I can't wait to get him some bumper stickers or even the T-shirt, Brian. That's a great perspective. That's a great perspective. Um, as you can see, obviously at IHH and process, it's about relationships and it's about really thinking creatively to help, to solve problems and to solve challenges. So with that, Brian or Newt, I'll leave you if you would like to add anything else.
Honestly, I'd just like thank you for facilitating. Always great to experience your wisdom and your talents. And this has been a remarkable journey because of COVID-19 and just the impact that it's had on our personal lives, our families, our friends, our neighborhoods, friends around the world. There's real impacts. Working with people like Newt has elevated us and really increases the collaborative mentality that we sought at the outset of this crisis. And so it makes every day easier when you're working with people that are not only competent, but caring. And I think that is a very big gap, right? You often come into contact with competent people. Let's not talk about the incompetent, but it's difficult to find people who care and really stand up for that. And so I'll just leave us with that. It's been a beautiful experience, and I look forward to that growth.
Yeah,
thank you, Brian.
Thank you for the opportunity as well. Being able to work with you, work with IHH, to be able to help as many people as possible. Currently we are already helping out different countries source products from Vietnam, China, Korea. And with the collaboration with the IHH, I hope to help out more people in the world. Let's try to
Once again, we are super excited to be part of this. Estamos súper entusiasmados de ser parte of things together in a collaborative fashion. So whether or whenever you're in Miami or Sacramento or anywhere in between, be on the lookout for us, and we look forward to having a cafecito, a batido, or now a flan. I know that we with our flan so time and consideration. We look forward to getting to know you and collaborate. Buenas tardes y muchas gracias.
Buenas tardes, muchas gracias.
Buenas tardes.
you.